Alright, so your aorta, well, your aortic arch is right there, coming out of your heart, right there. It branches off to two right here, so this is your left subclavian, and that is your brachiocephalic artery right there. And remember, in the heart model, of a human heart, you have 3 branches, but on the cat, there's only 2 branches.
Oh, so he ran in.
Keep that in mind. Remember, I don't want to be on anybody's video. The ligamentum arteriosum, it's this right here, and I'll go into it more specifically with the beetle pig. But that's just something I'll get to later. You're not going to need to know about it for this because it's really small. Pulmonary trunk. Right there, pulmonary arteries, there, on the backside, the veins, pulmonary veins right there. Alright, so back to the brachiocephalic artery. So remember, aortic arch, left subclavian artery, brachiocephalic artery. And notice that brachiocephalic artery right there, so it's a very small section of what they refer to as the brachiocephalic artery. It's like that right there. And then it branches off here at your left common carotid. And it branches off here, your right common carotid. See that under everything? So brachiocephalic, left common carotid, right common carotid. And it just kind of ends up being your subclavian artery going in that direction. And remember, your left subclavian over here is just going in this direction. So if you see any artery or vein kind of in the shoulder area or going out to the arms, that's the subclavian artery or vein. Told you not to worry about the coronary artery, but you know it's these guys kind of running around the heart there. But you don't need to know it for that because it's not that easily identifiable. Alright, so back to the aorta, remember the aortic arch. That continues on down right there. So this is the thoracic cavity, that's your thoracic aorta. These little guys coming off of it are your intercostal arteries. And if you follow that, so that aorta, they divide up thoracic, abdominal aorta. If you keep following it, you'll see your celiac artery here branching off of it. And just below that is your superior mesenteric artery. So that goes to your mesentery, your small intestines, all this stuff. Left and right, renal veins and arteries. Nobody should miss that, right? Because if you see a blue thing going to a kidney, that's your renal vein. You see a red thing going to a kidney, it's your renal artery. And of course, there's one on the right side that does the same thing. I'm just wondering what that is. So this guy is really weird. Oh, I'm going to get to that in a minute. Alright, so remember thoracic aorta here, go below the diaphragm, abdominal aorta here. And what I mean by that is this guy. See how it just continues on down? That red, large artery, abdominal aorta. Here branches off into 2, going to each leg. The external iliac artery, that section right there, so pretty much immediately after it branches. And if you continue following it, so that's the same guy there, that's your femoral artery. So if you see a pin in this area, right after it branches, external iliac artery. You see some down here, it's your femoral artery. I don't need to know it for the practical, but because it's not on the review sheet for some reason, that's your internal iliac artery below. And I already covered femoral artery, so that is all the arteries we're asking you to know. The veins, so this guy here, coming directly out of the heart, superior to it, is your superior vena cava. So I'm talking about between those 2 probes right there. It's kind of screwed up, but it branches right there. See how it goes like in that direction and branches that way and that way? So that's your brachiocephalic vein. That's your brachiocephalic vein. Obviously there's left and right, but on the worksheet it just says brachiocephalic vein, so I will accept that as an answer. and that continues branching off, so it kind of loses color here, but that's your right subclavian vein. And this guy, which is torn apart, should be going like that and like that. That's your left subclavian vein. As far as the jugular goes, I can't get a straight answer, and I don't really know. So if I have this pinned right here, or that pinned right there, and you answer common jugular or jugular vein, common jugular vein or jugular vein, you get credit for it. I mean, there's an external jugular vein and internal. Internal we can never see because the latex never really highlights it well. I'm still not entirely sure if that's external and there's common somewhere else, so I'm just going to have you guys answer common jugular vein or jugular vein. Azygous vein, so if you lift all this up on the side here, see that blue vein running along the, really close to the center of the body. That's your azygous vein. I believe it dumps into your, pretty sure it's this thing right here, so it dumps into your superior vena cava. But, so if you see a pin like sticking out of right there, that's your azygous vein. I'm going to skip over hepatic vein and hepatic portal vein. I'll come back to them in a second. Renal vein, kidneys, renal vein, renal artery. Your inferior, they mentioned the inferior vena cava multiple times. That's because it's right there. It runs through your liver here, this giant multi-lobe thing. Continues running down there. So this is where it gets weird with this guy. So, right, you can't see it all that well, but it's like under there. You can kind of see how that's your inferior vena cava. And see how it branches way up here? This shouldn't actually happen until down here, but this does happen occasionally. So more often than not, more commonly, you're just going to see an inferior vena cava running all the way down and branching right here. For some reason this guy branched way up here. So that's why you see this large vein here and that large vein there. If I have this cat out and you see a pin in either one of those, so if you see a large vein in the abdominal area and it's branched out like that and you see a pin in either one, I'll accept inferior vena cava for either one because as far as I understand, that's what it is. But like I said, on every other cat, it's probably just going to be one inferior vena cava running down there. And it should be parallel to the abdominal aorta right there. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. I told you about the external and internal iliac vein. Apparently they aren't very visible, so if you, again, this inferior vena cava should be branching right here just like the aorta, and if you answer, if I have this guy right here, this blue vein pinned anywhere in that area, or if we have it on this side for some reason, anywhere in that area, I'm just going to focus on this side. So anywhere in that area, and you answer iliac vein, you're good, because that's where the iliac vein is. And then it comes the femoral vein, so you see the femoral vein just continue on down there. So keep in mind with this guy that that's kind of weird, but just know that if you think about the artery as far as the iliac, it kind of makes more sense because you can use that as a guide to get your bearings on it. So iliac vein or artery in that area. The hepatic portal vein is that guy right there. You can barely see it, but it's that right there. And what's going on is you have all this blood from the small intestines and large intestines that has all these nutrients and everything in it, and it's running back into the liver to be processed and cleaned, or whatever else the liver does to it. So that's probably gonna be the hardest one to identify out of all of them. So if you see a large, very unvein-like looking object coming from the small intestines, hepatic portal vein. So it takes blood from the small and large intestines to the liver, where the blood's processed. And I mentioned the inferior vena cava, so it runs directly through the liver. And what happens after the blood is processed, the hepatic vein takes it from the liver to the inferior vena cava, which runs it back up to the heart. So that flow of blood makes sense as far as hepatic portal vein to the liver from the liver to the hepatic vein, the inferior vena cava. So if I just have a pen sticking right here, and I'm like, which vein is, you know, most associated with the liver or something like that, you'd answer hepatic vein. Is that clear?
Yep.
All right, so that's it. If you have any questions, now it's time to ask.